I carried a $40 backpack across the country and around the world for quite some time. And it worked until it didn't. Now, here's the thing. The backpack didn't rip. The straps didn't break. Just over time, the backpack started to quietly unzip. And I didn't even notice it. Someone had to catch my attention in the airport and tell me that all of my stuff was on the ground. So can you imagine this feeling of being in the airport, minding your business, you're headed to your gate, headphones on, you're thinking about your upcoming responsibilities and what you have to do on this business trip, the client, the training that you're going to participate in. All of those things are floating through your mind with your favorite songs providing a soundtrack in the background. And I have my backpack on with all of my stuff, all of my important stuff that I need for the trip. I have my books. I always read a good book or two. I have notes about the upcoming delivery, some specifications from the client, some adjustments that we need to make for this particular delivery. I have all types of chargers and cords because we need that to power our devices, right? And of course, devices. iPad, got a phone, all my electronics. All of this stuff is in this $40 backpack. I also have a blanket, snacks, all the essentials. And I'm walking through the airport, headed to my next gate, and I don't notice that the backpack has started to slowly unzip. I'm not in a rush, but I'm intentional about getting to where I'm going, and I don't feel it. As it unzips, the flap folds down, blanket is on the ground, cords are on the ground, and someone catches my attention, taps me and said, "Sir, you might want to get your stuff." And I turn around and I see a lot of the contents of my backpack on the ground, and I look behind me. The backpack is open. Now, I'm embarrassed and quickly I bend down, take the backpack off, zip it back up, throw all the stuff back in, and I head to my gate. Now, you would think after an incident like that I would quickly try to find a way to replace the backpack. And I had great intention. I looked at Amazon reviews, I compared brands, and I just couldn't settle on anything. And thinking about the slow process of the backpack unzipping, that's what happens a lot of times in leadership. When we think about failure, it isn't this big dramatic experience. Sometimes it's really, really subtle, and you might not even notice it until it's too late. Now, I was traveling still with this backpack. On two separate occasions, I had people who didn't know each other make the same recommendation. One was a client leadership retreat, working with this executive leadership team over the course of a few days. And I noticed an individual on the team, I noticed his backpack, and he was telling me the story of how he bought it and the impact that he's made and how he won't buy any other brand or style of backpack. And then on a totally separate occasion, I was with one of my closest friends. We were traveling. And he said, "Man, you got to stop carrying that backpack. You really need to get this type." Again, two people that don't know each other making the same recommendation for a backpack. And I don't take their advice. I just go through my travels with this backpack that I've been carrying. Now, at this point, I can't even put it on my back anymore and trust it because of the whole unzipping thing. I have to carry it by the handle. And I just make this adjustment. I accept this inconvenience. And think about it, all the times where we accept an inconvenience instead of making a change that we really, really need to make. Now, I checked all the Amazon reviews. I was comparing prices because the backpack that I had was about $40. And there were a lot of ideas, even the recommendations from the two individuals about a particular brand of backpack. We're talking about the $500 plus range. And I'm like, $40 versus $500. It's just a backpack. Is it that serious? And then one day I am in the airport in Qatar. Backpack not on my back. Got to hold it by the handle. And I see the store. I see the store that they both recommend. And I go in. And I said, today's the day. At least I said that to myself. Today was the day. And I walked into the store, selected a backpack. They took it off the shelf, took the stuffing out of it. They say, hey, try it on for size. Let me know how it feels, how it fits. In fact, you can even take all the stuff out of your old backpack and see if it'll fit in this one. And I did. And it fit. I mean, of course, it fit. And I walked out of that store. I walked out of the store that day with this new backpack. And I waited for the perfect moment to let the old backpack go. Now, the old backpack, there wasn't a capacity problem. It wasn't a capacity issue. But here's the thing that I've learned over time. Capacity doesn't equal support. And that's very, very important, especially when you consider your leadership. Again, leadership rarely explodes. The changes that are made can cause it to unzip. Your tone shifts, your clarity fades, your communication falters, your focus fragments. And sometimes you don't even feel it. You don't even notice it. But as you grow, as the demand grows, as the responsibility grows, as the impact grows, here's a reality that we need to embrace in our leadership journey. That the quality should match the demand. The quality should definitely match the demand. And I know what happens. We start to think, I've made it up until this point with what got me here. I've made it up to this point with my $40 backpack. Why would I need to change? Why make that investment of time and money? Is it just about maybe a status symbol or having something that trends toward this idea of luxury? Because it's just a bag. But this lesson in the airport taught me that it's not just what I carry that needs to increase in quality as my responsibility and impact increases. What carries what I carry? The quality of that needs to change as well. Now, life had changed dramatically from when I first got that backpack. And over the course of a couple of years, it was a big shift. I was dealing with bigger clients. I was on larger projects. I was standing on larger platforms. My notes at that point had more weight. They had more value, more impact. And I was still, even from a psychological perspective, I was still carrying them in a limited container. So it wasn't just about getting a new backpack. In many cases, it was transitioning my mindset. So, I got to ask you, I have to ask you, does the container match what you're currently carrying right now? And what in your leadership, it's quietly unzipping. And if you're not careful, you may lose yourself in the process. Maybe it's your calendar that you feel like, well, you might not even feel it, but if you reflect on it, you feel like your calendar is slipping away and it's quietly unzipping. Maybe it's your energy. And the exuberance and enthusiasm that you used to have, maybe it just isn't there anymore. Maybe it's your communication. And you're missing some of these subtle cues or opportunities to connect in the ways that matter the most, or maybe it's your confidence. And you don't have the clarity around the sense of direction to guide what you should be doing and really where your organization should be going. And it's starting to spill all over the place. It wasn't really about the bag. It wasn't about buying something expensive. It was about respecting what I carry and respecting myself in a way that matters to me. So if your calendar is unzipping, if your energy is slipping, if your communication is starting to falter, if your sense of confidence has waned a bit, ask yourself, where might my current container be limiting my capacity to be the best version of myself that's needed for this moment? Does your container match the weight of what you're carrying? Because if it doesn't, then you run the risk of significantly limiting your capacity. And in some cases, even worse, you may be in a position where you only find out when someone has to chase you down and tell you all of your important stuff is starting to spill out.